My wife's childhood friend is visiting us from the UK. She comes over to visit us in Dubai probably every 4 years. Yeah, usually every 4 years or so. And then when my wife travels back to the UK on those odd years, they will always get together. She's literally like a sister to my wife. I'm telling you this story because this friend has 2 sons. Both of them had joined the army in the UK. One of them is out and he's found his girl and they bought a house together and they're quite happy. Now, she didn't know what my new profession was because the last time she saw me, I was a photographer and my wife really never shared that with her and that I was into the YouTube thing. Long story short, we had a discussion on what I'm doing now this morning as we were having coffee. And, I told her, listen, I try to help men with a lot of male problems. And she said, oh, my son would love you right now because he is so angry with all of these issues. And I said, really? I said, there's a lot of young men who are just upset with the way the system is working. So we went into some real serious discussions. And of course, she's part of the system. She's very gynocentric. She's retired now, but she's been a nurse all her life. She's worked hard. And, she's now reached that time in life. But the reason why I tell you this story is that women really have a hard time understanding male struggle unless they have sons. Not if they have husbands. Unless they have sons or they have a husband who has been unjustly crucified by the society that we currently live in. And I said one thing to her. I said, sometimes I wish I had a son so that my wife could actually see it from a male perspective sometimes. Because even though she see all the evidence of the crap that I have to deal with discussing male issues, she cannot feel it because she's not talking to the men who call in for those chats. She's not hearing the pain in those men's voices. She's just looking at the digital screen of women acting like asses and men complaining, but it's all digital. It's too far removed from her and her reality. Whereas I can feel it. I can feel it because I'm a man. I know the struggle that a lot of men are going through. This is her first marriage. She's never been ripped apart by a marriage. She's never benefited from the marriage. I've been through too. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get you guys to understand that women have a really hard time understanding male issues. Yeah, a lot of you already know that. But listening to a mother talk about her son's pain and in such detail that it hits home, it make me realize that, yeah, it's true. Women cannot see a man's pain until it comes through her child. That's the best way I can put it. Because a child's pain is also felt by the mother. So we're going to get into this whole idea of what benefit do men have in today's society. And I'm going to only cover one video, one very short TikTok video of this girl complaining about the so-called patriarchy. And I'm just going to hit back at it as we examine females' perceptions of the so-called patriarchy that we're supposed to be living in. So my friends, subscribe. Hit the like button, please. This is going to be another lesson from the older man. Please share it with your daughters, sisters, aunties, wives, and all other females out there so that they could understand the male struggle.
Question of the day. What privileges do men have?
50% of the population of the United States is women, and yet we make up 27% of Congress, 27% of the House of Representatives, and 25% of the United States Senate. And there's never been a female president.
Why is that an issue? Just because 27% of Congress is women, that doesn't mean that women should automatically be given the position. And I'm probably going to say this numerous times. If a woman demonstrates good leadership skills, good political skills, the ability to influence and talk to the masses, she will get in. But most women don't have that ability. So why do you think that she earns a spot at the table just because she's female, just because she has a vagina?
Out of the 46 that we've had, they've all been men, and 45 of them have been white men.
Why is it that president being white is a problem for you? Why is it that all of a sudden white men are on the endangered species list in today's environment? The majority of the people in the United States are white. It's a white country. The white man came in and they conquered. To the spoils goes the victor. As harsh as that sounds, that's the reality of battle. The white man came in and he took the country from the American Indians. If you look at every single freaking country around the world, whenever that country was invaded by other cultures, those cultures ruled. Same thing with Canada, the Baltic states, the Romans. I mean, we could go way back in history. And I mean, this is besides the point. A lot of countries in Africa speak Portuguese and French. The French went over there and did their thing. Any particular country or race of people who had superior technology, they were the ones who dominated other countries. That's what human beings do. They invade and conquer. That's what Russia is trying to do to freaking Ukraine right now. They're trying to take more land. A lot of women just don't understand how freaking reality works. That's why it's impossible for women to freaking be out front. They're not enforcers. They are the weak of the two sexes. The spoils goes to the victor. The ones who conquer dictates history. They can rewrite history.
64% of domestic violence homicides are women. And in spite of being 50% of the population in Fortune 500 companies, women make up 8% of CEOs.
Yeah. And what's your point? You know the majority of the men that do exist, they're not CEOs. Only the elites of the elites are CEOs. And the ones who are willing to freaking bust their asses to get to the top. What you don't recognize is the majority of men, 99.99% of men, are not freaking CEOs. Not only are they not women, they're not the majority of men. If we're comparing genders, that's one thing because men are far superior. The ability to stay in the fight, putting in the grind, the discipline, the sacrifice that it takes to become a CEO, mostly men can do that. Most women are not prepared to do that. They're designed to nurture. Being a top CEO is someone who has the balls to freaking get out front and do it. Not bear kids. Not have to worry about if your kid is at home again one night. These are men who don't have to worry about, hey, my child is home. Oh, my child needs to be breastfed. No. What is wrong with you women thinking that you should have all the capabilities and characteristics of a man? I don't get it. But society keeps pushing you to think that that's what you need. You are not men. Don't try to compete in an arena where the majority of the men cannot remotely compete in. We don't have the privilege. A lot of us don't have the discipline. Not even close to the ability to become a top CEO. Because these men sacrifice a lot. A lot of you women, all you see is the end result of the guy being at the top. You do not give a shit or care to understand what it takes to become a top CEO. You just see that, oh, we're not there. When you look at what female top CEOs, read their story and ask them what they had to give up to get there. What was the name of the lady that ran PepsiCo?
You're probably thinking of Indra Nooyi. She was the CEO of PepsiCo for quite a long stretch from around 2006 to 2018. So if that's who you're referring to, that's her name.
Do you remember what she said that she had to give up her family to be the CEO?
She did mention that being a top executive came with some tough trade-offs. She didn't literally say she had to give up her family, but she did talk openly about the sacrifices and the balancing act. She pointed out how challenging it was to juggle family life and a role like that. So it was more about the fact that you can't have it all at the same time without some compromise.
Thank you. That's what I meant. I know she didn't give up her family. I just didn't know how else to word it.
Sure, Paul. Got it. It's all good. Basically, she was just highlighting that there were some real trade-offs in a job like that. So you got the gist right.
All right. Thanks. Sometimes I have to remember that this is just an AI. Anyway, my point is a top CEO in any company have to sacrifice a lot. Women do not like to sacrifice. They do not. They think it should just be given to them. Men don't have a problem sacrificing. We understand because we ultimately want to achieve more. Women want to be given more. She don't want to do the work.
Jobs that are considered feminine, like being a teacher, being a nurse, being a nanny, are all woefully underpaid, while jobs that are considered masculine, like being an engineer, being a contractor, being a business owner, are all very well paid. Women are blamed for choosing lower paying positions.
Oh, Jesus, here we go again. The majority of the hard jobs are well paid. Jobs that require exceptional skills to get there are well paid because they know that a person have to work extra hard to get to that position. Like I said, women don't want to do the hard jobs, but they want the results from it.
But when we decide to pursue leadership positions, we're quite literally blamed for the disintegrating family structure in America. Things like vasectomies and Viagra are covered by most health insurances. Men's reproductive rights are never up for debate. Their Viagra and their vasectomies are quite literally covered by their insurance.
Oh, okay. Let's go back to what she says, because she's just trying to blur these things all in one freaking massive talking point. If a woman has a child, she has to freaking give up a lot to take care of that child. The human child is one of the few species that has to be taken care of until it's eligible to even walk. Most mammals, especially in the wild, they have to walk within the first 15, 20 minutes. Otherwise, they're going to get eaten. Human beings, the baby usually takes anywhere between, 6 months? I don't know. I can't remember now with my girls. To a year and a half before they start walking. Then after that, we constantly have to monitor them from killing themselves, because kids will get into the most dangerous positions to off themselves because they're stupid. They have no basic instincts of danger. All of this have to be taught. If a woman isn't prepared to give up at least 3 years of her life to actually take care of that child, she's not a mother. And then you blame men for that because you're not getting ahead. Business don't care if you take time off. They need someone to keep that profit coming, man. But now you women think that, the man should be at home taking care of the child, so we go out and work, yet you're making less money. How the hell does that make sense? A lot of these women just don't think these things through. All they're doing is listening to the talking points and just blurbing their feelings out there. Feminism have done a really nasty job on a lot of you, man. Let's touch on birth control, because this is another serious talking point. Who said Viagra was covered by insurance? No, it isn't. It isn't. Birth control is birth control. That's your responsibility. Unless there's a medical condition where the man is impotent, that can be considered a medical condition. He might have blood flow or restriction. Yes, it could be covered by insurance. It's a medical condition. It's not birth control. It's not a vasectomy. Is usually necessary if the woman don't want to have kids. The husband can say, all right, we can't afford to have any more kids. The man will go and get the snip. Most men don't want to get vasectomies, but that's now to help the woman out, because if she no longer have to buy birth control, that's better for her. And I'm talking from marriage perspective. But a vasectomy, it's a medical condition. Let's ask ChatGPT. Are vasectomies for men covered in medical insurance in America?
Well, generally speaking, yes. Vasectomies are often covered by health insurance in the US. It's considered a form of preventive care. That said, it can vary depending on the insurance plan, so it's always smart to check the specifics of your policy, just to be sure.
What conditions are they covered under?
So, Paul, to keep it clear and direct, usually vasectomies are covered under preventive or family planning benefits in many insurance plans. Some plans treat it as a standard covered procedure because it's a one-time elective form of birth control, but the exact conditions can depend on your particular insurance provider and plan details. So basically, it's often covered, but you'll want to look at the fine print of your own policy to know exactly what applies to you.
All right. Now, is female birth control covered under health insurance?
Yeah, Paul. In the US, female birth control is generally covered under health insurance as well. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, most insurance plans have to cover FDA-approved contraceptives without extra cost. That means things like birth control pills, IUDs, and other forms of contraception are typically included. Of course, there can be some variations by plan. In general, it's pretty well covered.
Thank you. So, young lady, get your facts straight. Usually, most birth controls are covered under insurance plans. And that's usually clear in most countries. Family planning is usually covered under insurance. These women just talk just to sound like they know what they're talking about. Most birth control methods are usually covered under insurance. I don't think condoms are, but most medical procedures are covered.
And yet women's reproductive rights can be the law, can be in the Constitution, and still be revoked. I want you to type in the comment section below how many men you knew that were upset or even attempted to console you when your rights were literally fucking taken away from you. Comment below. Don't take too much time to think about it. I already know what the number is. It sure as shit is under 2. If a man so much as asks us out to dinner, we have to put out to give him a return on his investment by buying us food. And the risk of us sleeping with this man is potentially getting pregnant. Which if we were to get pregnant and couldn't support that child...
No, cut that shit out. When you go out with a man, you know what you do? You pay for your own food. He asks you out, you can refuse because you can't afford to pay for your own food. Why? Because a lot of you women take advantage of men. So he assumes, listen, I'm taking you out. You're probably trying to con me. Most men don't expect you to sleep with him on the first date, second or third date, unless you're a hoe. If you're on the first date, the man volunteers to pay, that's great. But you should always take out enough money to pay for your own food on the first date, especially if you don't like the guy. I learned that from my wife. She said, when I was dating and I went out on a date with a guy and we didn't click, I would pay for my own meal. If I liked him and he volunteered to pay, I would let him pay for it because I know that I want to see him again. I know it sounds ass backwards, but she says, I just didn't want the man to ever feel that I was taking advantage of him. That's a good woman because she felt that she don't want to be obligated to this one guy. But that's when dating was simpler, where the chances of seeing the guy again was probably high and you didn't want the guy to feel uncomfortable when you saw each other about whether he got taken advantage of. Nowadays, women don't give a shit. You do not have to sleep with a man if he buys you a meal, just in case you're thinking you had to. And no man expects that. None.
Couldn't support that child. We would be blamed for opening our legs. If we say no and that man grapes us, we'll be asked what we were wearing, how many drinks we had, and usually receive no legal recourse. Men are allowed to age. Men don't have...
Oh, let's not go down the grape road. You women just keep going into this shit about... Why would you put yourself to be graped on a date? Where would you go where you're so isolated where you're going to be graped by a man on the first date where you don't know the guy? Why would you be that irresponsible to get drunk to the point where the guy feels that he could take advantage of you? Or if you saw the guy getting that drunk on the date, that's when you should remove yourself. At some point, ladies, you got to take responsibility and open your freaking eyes to danger. You go out on the first date. These are just lessons. And you see the man drinking excessively to the point where, okay, this sucker is drunk, man. I had one beer. This guy is on his 5th. Yeah. You simply just say, hey, Tom, Bill, you've had a lot of drinks. I think I'm going to go now. You want me to call you a cab? You got an Uber? No, I'm good, babes. I'm good, man. I'm good. No, it's okay. I don't like to be around men when they're drunk. You pay for your share of the meal, you grab a cab, jump in an Uber, you take your ass home. That's how this shit should work. That's how I teach my girls. If both of you are drunk, you jump in an Uber. Number one, you shouldn't get drunk and wasted on a first date. Don't ever freaking do that. You don't know this guy. Why would you make yourself so vulnerable in front of somebody that you don't know? Common sense shit. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable position when you don't know someone. You don't invite a guy over to your house on the first date. You meet in a public place. You get to know the guy. Ask people about him. Let's see what else she goes on with. Because this is a hardcore feminist who really think that there's a boogeyman called the patriarchy out there trying to get her.
We would be blamed for opening our legs. If we say no and that man grapes us, we'll be asked what we were wearing, how many drinks we had, and usually receive no legal recourse. Men are allowed to age. Men don't have the tremendous burden of maintaining an impossible beauty standard to not be deemed invisible. If you meet the beauty standard, you're made both safe and unsafe because you have more eyes on you, but people will actually give a fuck if something bad happens to you. If you don't meet the beauty standard, you're made safe and unsafe because you're rendered invisible, which means you have less targets on your back. But if something bad happens to you, no one's going to give a shit.
Oh, Jesus. The victim mentality is unreal. If you overinflate your beauty, you're going to have a lot of eyes on you. So there's a possibility that you're going to be taken advantage of. But if you go the other direction where you don't put a lot of effort into being attractive, you'll be rendered invisible. so that when something happens to you, or if something happens to you, no one cares because you're not that beautiful. Holy crap. The victimhood mentality is unreal, man. I really feel sorry for these women that actually put themselves in this position where they really believe this shit. And they go through life like this. There are women that go through life like this, gentlemen. Learn to identify them quickly and run the other direction. Whew.
Women's bodies and identities are fucking taken from them and sold back to them every day. Our pain, our youth, our daughters are constantly fetishized. No matter what we do, we lose. We don't get to be a doctor. We get to be a female doctor. We don't get to be athletes. We get to be female athletes. We don't have the opportunity of being revered by our peers on a global stage because you control the narrative. And no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, we can't win. And that's all changing. You gave us just a little too much power, and we're going to take it back. But we have a long way to go.
I'm speechless. So what we're seeing, gentlemen, is the fact that women really think that they're in competition with men. The very men who gave them the power, as she said it, to actually be free as women. This is the problem, gentlemen. When you give a woman freedom, this isn't someone who will say, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing for me and making me feel like a woman. I will victim blame you so that I can get more power, even though this illusion that she has, because power cannot be held unless you have the ability to physically hold on to it. Women like this will constantly try to make men feel that they're powerless, because the only way that they can fight a man and win, only if he's psychologically manipulated to think that he has no power. These are the type of women who think that this isn't going to come back and bite them. But what we're seeing, that it is currently coming back and biting them, because men are saying, okay, I'm not willing to play your game. I'm going on my own. I'm not getting married. I'm not committing. So back to my wife's friend who's currently visiting with the two sons right now. One of her sons says, both of her sons said, I'm not getting married. He's been living with the same woman for 6 years, but he said, I'm not getting married. The system isn't for me. And if I do get married to this wonderful woman that I'm with, she can wake up at any time and say, okay, I'm taking all this shit. Even though they've built a house together and they're cohabitating, he said, I'm not getting legally married. So it's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world that we're living in. But I just wanted you gentlemen to get an insight into this young woman's mind. And it's kind of scary that the young generation are thinking like this. It is. This so-called dangerous patriarchy. The idea that this name, patriarchy, was invented to create a monster that doesn't exist except in the minds of females. There's no such thing as a patriarchy, ladies. It's just dominant men who have worked themselves to the top of the hierarchy pole, and there's nothing me included, including all of you, anyone who is weaker, nothing we can do about it. All we can do is to get the scraps that they have dropped off of their tables, and we focus really hard on getting as high as we can on that totem pole so that when shit hits the fan, that we don't get a lot of it on us. Because the people at the bottom, they're the ones that are going to drown in it. The ones that are higher up, they might get their ankle high, knee high, or waist high, or neck high. But as long as your head is not under the shit, you'll be okay. But in reality, they don't care if you're male or female. The elites of the elites run the world, my friends. Unfortunately, or fortunately, and the reality of it is, most of those elites are men. And women have to realize the only reason that they do have the amount of power that they currently have is because men at the top, allow it to be that way because they see it benefiting them. Let me know your thoughts, my friends. I'm going to keep this one short today, but I just thought this was an interesting subject to cover. Subscribe, like this video on the way out, please. Book a session if you need any help from me. Of course, I am open to criticism, my friends. If you think I got anything wrong or you want to expand on my understanding of these women, by all means, let's have a discussion in the comment section. Okay? So until tomorrow, my friends, remember, whenever in doubt, always, Ask an older man. See you soon. Cheers.